Get ready. Get set. Because it's
time to go with the It's 420 Somewhere podcast. With your host with the most, the man voted most likely to smoke out with a Yeti, Mr. Brian Brown. Mr. Brian Brown. Now sit back and relax, because it's time to go live across the world. Because it's 420 Somewhere.
All right. Hey, what's up, guys? It's Brian, and we are back with another exciting episode of the It's 420 podcast, guys. I'm getting situated here. I am out and about. I'm traveling, but I thought I would drop in, celebrate 420 with you guys, because I'm excited. What you've stumbled into is the hottest, the wildest, the craziest 420 countdown show that you've ever seen, guys. We get crazy. We get Movie Monday. We get True Crime, or was it Paranormal Tuesday today, guys? We got Weed Wednesday. We got True Crime Thursday. And then we got Baked and Unboxed on Friday, guys. Awesome day. Baked and Unboxed, if you guys don't know what that is, it's a show that we get high together. We get baked. We do a little 420 review, and then we unbox the coolest, the craziest, the freaking awesomest boxes on the net, guys. We're talking Zobi. We're talking BAM. We're talking OC Celebrity Marketing. We're talking knives. We're talking razors. We're talking samurai swords. Whatever's out there, guys, we will unbox it. Oh, man. We get crazy. Giveaways. We get nuts with the giveaways, guys. This week, we are going to be giving away some really awesome stuff. George Clinton, the master of the P-Funk, guys. Funk master George Clinton. We got an 11 by 17. Oh, man, it's muggy out here. You see my skin's all muggy-ish. 11 by 17, George Clinton, JSA certified from Pristine Auction, guys. We got a George Clinton autograph. That's not it. We got a Megan Fox 11 by 17, guys. So you're going to hashtag funk for George Clinton. You're going to hashtag Fox for Megan Fox. You're going to get in there to win that, guys. What else we got? Oh, let me show you real quick, guys. Check this out. I got a shirt. I'm going to be wearing it tomorrow. I got it from Harley from the Mod Squad, guys. Big shout out to the Mod Squad, to Back to Retro. Awesome, guys. I'm going to be getting down. We still got a long time for 420, guys. We got an interview for you today, guys, on today's show. We are going to be talking to retired New York City detective, part of the Organized Crime Bureau, guys. We got some fucking, excuse my language, but we got some awesome stories. Oh, man. You should hear what this guy says. Check out his books. There's a mention of Christmas coming up. It's a little older podcast. It's the Better Late Than Never podcast, guys. No elevated perspective. This is one of my first interviews that I did, guys. A little rough, but I think my interview skills are coming up. They're getting good. Man, he has some great stories, guys. Wait till you hear the cockfighting ring story, or the Asian Mafia stealing cars. Oh, man, you want to stay tuned for that one. It's a little bit of a longer one, guys, but you know what? It's worth the listen. It's really good. We got a lot more stuff like that happening. Now, what else we got going on down here, guys? I'm in Phoenix, trying out different restaurants, trying out different adventures. I told you guys I tried beers and burgers. This place last night, very cool. It's like a bar kind of restaurant. The burgers were charred broiled, which I love me some char, man. And they put peanut butter on it. It was a PB&J burger, and the jelly was good. It was a little kick to it, a little spicy. I don't do spicy, guys, unless they're the little nitros and I end up in the ER. Oh, man, that's a different video, guys, different video. Yeah, so we got a ton of giveaways, guys. Guardians of the Galaxy, we're giving away Funko Pops, hashtag GOG. We got a lot of off the beaten paths coming up, guys. Ton of giveaways. Hashtag 420. Hashtag the Daily Dank. And you're going to be able to get in on a ton of those giveaways, guys. Big shout out to everyone who's out here today. Man, you guys rock. You really, really do. What's happening out in the world? We got a few minutes to kill for 420. I'm being incognito, so I got the vape, guys. I got, I believe this is Left Coast vape. A little Pineapple Express, which I haven't had in a long time. You know, for vaping, man, I've never had a real Pineapple Express flower. Would love to find some, man. But I've had the vape. And not how bad. I used to, a brand called Heavy Hitters, which I really, really liked. I think they're now dysfuncted, whatever you want to say. But yeah, man, they had some really good Pineapple Express, much like this one, guys. So yeah, we're going to hit that at 420, give you my elevated review. What else is happening? Oh man, guys, I don't know how many baseball fans are out there, but oh my God, who caught that? Oh shit. Who caught that home run derby yesterday? Oh my God, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Just killed it. Both those guys killed it. I forget what the other guy's name was, man. I'm not too up to date on the current baseball stuff. I'm kind of an old school guy, but these two fucking guys blasted out 22 at least. Vlad, I think, blasted out 25. The other guy 22 in like 2.5, 3 minutes. They were exhausted afterwards, man. Cracking that many home runs in that short of time. It was dramatic. It was, oh man, it was the home run derby that I love, the old school ones, man. That's what it reminded me of. Like your Willie Mays, your Hank Aaron, your Mickey Mantle. Man, when I was a kid, I loved that golden era of baseball. That was my jam. You know, we had a whole new era of baseball, but those guys were like gods to me, man. Mickey Mantle, Eddie Matthews, Hank Aaron, Ernie Banks, can't forget Mr. Cub, man. Those guys were like, man, like legend. Just legend. You know, you never saw them play because you're a little younger or older, but man, legend. Oh, I can't even. So I'd fall into the old home run derby, the original, and you had like Willie Mays versus Mickey Mantle. It was such a great show too, man. It really was. Yeah, that's how I kind of grew up, man. I love baseball. Wish I could get into it a little more nowadays, but you guys know how it is. You know, life happens, and you don't get to do the hobbies and the things. Smoke too much weed. I wanted to watch baseball, but then I got high. All right, guys, we're counting down to 420. I'm excited. I got me some Pineapple Express vape, guys. I got to be incognito, working a cheese candy job today, or a job where I don't let people know where I work. Shooting gigs, guys, doing some good stuff, having some fun out here. All right, guys, let's get into this. I am getting into Pineapple Express. As you can tell, I've been dipping on this bad boy, but let's give it a whirl. Not bad, not bad. Clean taste. It's getting to the bottom, so you get a little of that stronger oil. Clean, fresh. So your Pineapple Express is going to be a indica heavy dominant hybrid. It's mixing really. You know what this reminds me of? Like an ocean breeze, man. It's nice and refreshing, and then there's like some flower to it too, like. Like a rose, maybe. I don't know. That's what, yeah, like a rose. Yeah. So man, this is pretty good. I don't vape a lot, so it hits me a little different. It doesn't hit me as hard as flower. But if you're into vaping, I would definitely recommend this from Left Coast Vapes. It is a Pineapple Express, guys. Give me a bong, man. I'm a bong guy. All right, guys, we are counting down to 420. I would recommend this for getting through the day, not being too high, but being just perfect. That type of thing. That's what I would recommend this for, guys. So blow up those comments. This is a great get through the day kind of vape. Blow up those comments. What are you guys getting into? What are you guys smoking on? What are you eating, drinking? Let me know. Who's got that bong? Who's got that dab? Who's got that dab rig? Who's got that pipe, guys? Blow up those comments. Who's got those flaming hot Cheetos? Who's got it, guys? Blow up. Who's got that drink? Who's getting their drink on? All right, guys, blow up those comments. Let me know what you're getting into, because it is in 3, 2, 1. It's 420. Woo! Mine was good, guys. All right. We counted down 420. We're having a great time, guys. Let's get into this interview. The meat and potato. I got shit all over my shirt. The meat and potatoes, guys. Welcome. An awesome interview. An awesome guy. Check out his books, guys. All the descriptions are going to be in the link, hopefully, if I can get it done in time. If not today, by tomorrow, guys. So check it out, man. New York City. Organized crime detective, guys. We're getting down. We're getting dirty. Only on the It's 420 Somewhere podcast. We'll see you guys. All right. We'll go in 5, 4, 3, 2, and hey, what's up, guys? We are back. And we're back with a very special guest. And when I say special guest, I mean, you guys' minds are going to be blown. This guy has stories upon stories for days. This is NYPD, right? Former NYPD police officer. And I've never been to New York personally, but like I've seen a lot of videos, and I couldn't imagine some of the things that this gentleman has seen. He's an author. Check him out on Amazon. We're going to have all the links and everything. The stories he tells are going to be great, guys. You're going to want to share this with your friends, your family. These books are tremendous, but we're going to get into it. Enough of me selling it. He's going to sell it himself. These stories we're going to get into it, guys. Hey, how you doing, Vic?
Hey, thank you so much for having me on your show. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. I appreciate you coming by. So New York City, what, as a cop, what was that like? I mean, the day to day.
Well, I was born and raised in the Bronx. I always wanted to be a police officer and a detective. And I was lucky enough when I was 20, I took the police exam. I went through the police academy. And by 1987, I was dropped off in the South Bronx. And, back then they really didn't nurture you. It was figure it out, baptism by fire. Like I remember right out of the academy, I'm standing on a footpost on Fulton Avenue, and there's 6-story abandoned buildings, blocks of them just burned out. And there's crackheads walking by with shit, selling stuff. And I'm like, what the hell did I get? Even though I grew up in the Bronx, I didn't grow up in that part of the Bronx. I'm like, what the fuck did I get myself involved in, Yeah.
Oh, I bet. So I got to ask you, the time that you kind of were around, like your Times Square and that kind of stuff, that was kind of a pretty rough place at that time, right?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. So when I was a kid in the 80s, late 70s, early 80s, Times Square was all, well, even before that, it was all movie theaters and playhouses. And what happened was, as the city kind of slipped into the abyss, people turned all those places into sex shops and X-rated movie places. And when I was a kid, that's where everybody went to get their fake IDs, fireworks, nunchucks, the stars, head shops. I mean, there's all sorts of shit down there. And like when I was a teenager, we would go down there to get fireworks and stuff. And it's funny, like if we only went with like a handful of us, we would get robbed. And then if there was like 10 of us, we would go down there and we'd get off the train. The cops would spot 10 white kids wandering around. They go, where you from? We're from the Bronx. Get back on that fucking train and get back up to the Bronx. So yeah, it was definitely Times Square area was a den of iniquity.
Yeah, that's what I had always heard. And what a job they did cleaning it up, though. Man, you come down there nowadays, completely different atmosphere and everything, right?
Well, it was a dump. And then Rudy Giuliani came in mid 90s, and being a former federal prosecutor, Rudy turned it around. He basically took the handcuffs off the cops and said, make as many arrests as you can. And, I'll back you. And New York got cleaned up. And then what happened was after all those sex shops closed, corporate America moved in. So you had McDonald's had their flagship store. I think M&M's has got a flagship store there, Nike, Adidas. So you got all those sex shops turned into retail locations, and Manhattan prospered. But unfortunately, under de Blasio, New York has made a left turn again. And now Times Square is, from what I see on television, at least, is turning into the Wild West again.
Yeah. It's funny because it went from like adult pornography to pop pornography. Like you just named all the like it just went a different direction. Yeah, still like exploiting, but yeah. So the day to day, like I kind of wanted to get into this with you too, because like with today's society and stuff. Some people can look at police work a little differently than they had in the past. And I kind of want to, because I can imagine, like I remember hearing Joe Rogan talk about it. And he said, like, you got to have some sympathy for these guys, because literally from day one, when they start their shift, everyone lies to them. Like whether it's a traffic ticket, whether someone's littering, oh, I didn't litter, even though you just saw them do it. And you got to kind of take that home, kind of walk me like, is there a process to decompress? I mean, that's got to be a lot of mental anguish on you,
Well, you're right. What you said about everybody lies to you, but it's more to it than that. It's not only just the lying, but two people are having a dispute, right? And they can't sort it out. Maybe it got violent, or maybe it's going to get violent. So they call the police. The police show up, and you've only got a certain amount of time to adjudicate this, right? And oftentimes the person that calls you, I mean, there's three sides to every story. What he said, what she said, and what really happened, right? Yeah. And, you show up as a police officer, you don't really know what happened. You're just trying to go by what happened, what he's saying, what she's saying, and then you make a conscious decision, to take someone to jail, refer them to court, tell that person they're not allowed to do that, to knock it off, or they are going to get arrested. And oftentimes the person that called the police, who thinks they're in the right, it doesn't go their way, and they leave with a bad taste in their mouth. So, I mean, you try to dust everybody off the best way you can. I mean, even people I would arrest, I like, listen, man, don't take it personal. It's just the way it goes. Yeah. People do lie to you all the time. I mean, criminals especially. It's like I locked up a woman once that got grabbed in a check cashing place trying to pass a bad check, and she had a vial of Coke in her pocket. She's trying to tell me that her doctor prescribed it. And I was like, my doctor prescribed this for me. I have cancer. And I'm like, well, listen, lady, you got to stop. You're just digging yourself in a bigger hole. So yeah, you're right. People do lie to you all the time. You try not to take it personally. Most cops, the good ones at least, you can compartmentalize everything. Yeah. You don't want to go home and sit there and relive everything. You kind of put that in a box, and you go back to your life. You know what I mean? You go home, you walk your dog, you kiss your girlfriend, you read a book, you watch television. The ones that tend to let it really get to them, and then they're drinking too much and they're reliving it all the time. That's the ones that's going to chew you up and spit you out.
Yeah. And I can imagine, I mean, because I haven't had too many runs in with the police, thank goodness, knock on wood, but I'm very verbal of silver tongue, as they could say. Like I can go. So like I've said some things where like I'm like could imagine, just out of the incident, nothing, personal or whatever. Be like, oh, you're picking on me for whatever reason. I could imagine like that could sit on you for a little bit. Like if someone did get a little personal or whatever, like that could.
Oh, it gets quite personal. Oh, definitely, especially like in high crime neighborhoods and stuff. Like, it's picture some neighborhoods. I mean, just picture everybody's giving you a dirty look. I mean, you didn't even get out of the car. You're going to get a cup of coffee. You're getting out of the car to stretch your legs, and people are just, you can read. I mean, you don't have to be a lip reader to know what they're saying. You can't take it personally. You just can't. It's sticks and stones,
Yeah. Yeah. So did you were you assigned a beat? Did you like walk or like drive a certain neighborhood, certain blocks or something for the most part, or was it just kind of they put you in areas or?
Well, when I got hired, what they would do is after the police academy, they would put you in field training. So back in the good old bad days, they would put 40, 50 cops in a training unit. So mine was in the South Bronx. So every day they would tell you, okay, you got to go to such and such. We covered 4 precincts. There's 12 precincts in the Bronx. So the training unit I was in, I think we had 3 or 4 precincts we covered. So Sergeant would say, Ferrari, Lopez, Espinosa, you're going up to the 4-4 precinct. Ferrari, you've got Sedgwick Avenue between 167th Street to 168th Street, 12 o'clock meal. I'd walk out of the precinct and I'd have to figure it out. I'd have to take a bus, get up to that precinct and take my foot post. And it was baptism by fire because, the police academy doesn't really prepare you. They give you like the politically correct answers and stuff. And the police academy is kind of a joke because my instructors in the police academy were only a couple of years older than me. And even the old timers that were teaching in the police academy, they weren't like battle hardened guys. These were people that were kind of hiding to study for the sergeant's exam. So the police academy, they could work out, they get weekends off. So it's kind of difficult to take people that have never put the work to practicality seriously. You kind of learn from the veterans in the street. Early on, you're given a foot post and whatever comes up on your post. And, the second you walk on a foot post, people are approaching you. I'm lost. My kid is lost. This guy just beat the shit out of me. I want him arrested. I mean, it's coming at you really. It's like an rookie NFL quarterback. It's like the game is moving so quickly and you're just trying to figure out. On top of that, you got to learn to listen to that radio. You got to know if there's a call coming over, hey, that's a block away. I should go and pick up that call. Or, they're calling me on the radio. A lot of times, like you're not, they give you a post number and they're calling that post number. You don't want that sergeant to get pissed off because now there's a manhunt looking for you because you don't know to say, 4-4 post 15. Yeah, go. You know what I mean? They just keep trying to raise you. And they're like, well, maybe he's maybe he's in an elevator shaft and in an abandoned building somewhere. So you get that early on. What's that?
Yeah. And a rookie as well. Like, they're probably even more so.
Oh, it's brutal. And then, so you do the foot post for a while and then probably every other week, they'll throw you in the car with the training sergeant and another rookie, and you answer calls, and the training sergeant is right over your shoulder, and he guides you. You know what I mean? So say an old lady died in her apartment. It's called sitting on a DOA. All right, so you show up, you start making the notifications, you call for an ambulance, they come, they kind of pronounce her dead, pending the medical examiner. Then you got to wait for the medical examiner. You look through the apartment, you see what kind of medication she's taking. You call the doctors on the pills. Hey, I've got Mrs. So-and-so died. She was 86 years old. You try to get a feel from the doctor, her medical history. You talk to the neighbors. You look around. Was the place, was the apartment broken into? Make sure it's not a suspicious death. Medical examiner comes, and then he's either going to say, no, she's going to the morgue. We're going to do an autopsy, or, yeah, this looks like it's a natural causes death. Tell the family they can call the funeral home. But you still have to stay there until the funeral home takes the body. So when you're with the sergeant, you're answering jobs and you're getting involved in a lot more stuff than just a foot post.
Yeah. Yes. I didn't realize how much would be involved in something like that. Just the steps that you said, I would imagine, okay, we have a deceased older lady, call the coroner, boom, we're out of here. I know, that's a
No,
lot of
because they're
stuff.
afraid. They're afraid of relatives fighting over possessions in the apartment. There's a lot to that when someone dies in New York. That ties up a radio car or foot post. Because all right, so say someone dies in their apartment, natural causes. First the EMTs come, then the detectives from the precinct come, and they look around. Then, like I said, the medical examiner comes, but that takes, I mean, there's so many people dropping dead in New York, natural causes and unnatural causes. You could sit in an apartment for, 12, 13 hours with someone that's dead. And then that's an art in itself. Like the old timers early on explained to me that after you figure out that this is a natural death, go into that kitchen and look for coffee grinds or any type of coffee, pour it in a pot and burn the pot on the stove. And the smell of the coffee grinds will permeate the apartment to mask the smell of the decomposing body.
Oh, wow.
Also in New York, when someone dies, you've got to search the body for possessions. And I mean, I got to tell you, as a rookie cop, the old timers aren't going to do it. They throw you a set of latex gloves and they tell you have at it. And sometimes when somebody dies, especially an overweight person, the gases in your body, the body starts to expand. You got to throw a sheet over that person and kind of give them a push and get back, and they pop. They'll just, it's like you'll hear, psst, yeah,
oh man,
like sticking a tire. Yeah, because the gastrointestinal gases, the body starts to, well, it doesn't explode.
Yeah,
but you give it like a push and get away from it, and you'll hear it. And it's the worst smell in the world, and you've got gloves on, and you're looking through their pockets for shit. It's something out of a fucking horror movie.
It sounds like it. Oh my God. So like, were you ever on a call like that you thought was going to be simple, like maybe one like that, and end up finding a completely different, like really
all the time? Yeah, all the time. That's the thing. Like, especially in New York, you get called to one thing and you think it's absolutely nothing, and the world is coming to an end. So probably the early 90s, I'm working with this cop. Actually, this cop was murdered a couple of years after, but when I was working with him, we go on a cardiac, and it's Saturday night in the Bronx, and probably about this time of year, and we're going to cardiac. We rush over. We're going up the stairs. It's like a 6-story walk up, and we hear a lot of screaming and crying. The apartment's filled with people, and we're just kind of pushing our way through the apartment. And they had a galley kitchen. So as I made the turn, I saw a set of legs stick on the floor. I walk over, there's a woman laid on the floor, and she's been stabbed multiple times. It's obvious it's not a cardiac. She's been stabbed multiple times. There's a young man on top of her crying and wailing, "Mama, mama, mama." And the whole kitchen is covered in blood. So if you've ever cut yourself, when you cut yourself, blood is bright red. Yeah. But over time, oxygen gets to it, it turns like a brown or rust color. So it was obvious she had been dead for quite some time because the blood all over the apartment had dried. So we pull the son off of the mother, we put him in the living room, and the house has been ransacked. And we're not putting the screws to him, we're just asking him simple questions, and he starts to get weird. Like, when was the last time you saw your mother? And he goes, when was the last time I saw my mother? Yeah. And he's like 4 hours ago. So every time I asked him a question, he would answer it with a question. He'd repeat it. So he's buying time. Then as we're looking around the apartment, yeah, it's ransacked, but it appears to be staged. So when a burglar breaks into your house or apartment, they're on the clock. They don't want to run into anybody. They want your shit. And they want to get out. Yeah. So all the drawers of like the dressers and stuff were dumped, but then they put the drawers back inside. Yeah. So no one has time to do that shit, right? Yeah. Then her bag was dumped upside down and then placed right side up right next to it. And the credit cards were left behind. Nobody leaves credit cards behind, especially back then when nobody knew you could trace credit cards. So the burglary looks staged, and Sonny Boy is acting weird. So he goes with the detectives to the precinct, and my partner and I are tasked with collecting evidence at the crime scene. So in the NYPD, when somebody dies, the responding cop has to sit there until the medical examiner takes the body. And you have to tie, it's a little oak tag with a string. It's called a 95 tag that you tie to the person's toe, big toe. And you put all your information and the deceased information, so there's not going to be a mix-up at the morgue. So I go into the precinct with all the evidence and stuff, and I'm vouchering it. And I go upstairs to see the detectives. I go, "What's going on with this?" And they go, he knows more than he's saying. We don't know if he did it, but he definitely knows more than he's saying. And the deceased had three brothers that lived next door. So they're asking all sorts of questions. The detectives told him, like, listen, your nephew knows more than he's saying. Maybe you can get something out of him.
Yeah.
The kid didn't want a lawyer, but he wanted to leave. So they didn't want to press him, because once he says, I want a lawyer, he's got representation. You can't talk to him anymore. So when he wanted to leave, they go, okay, you're free to go. They let him walk out of the station house with the mindset, okay, we're going to go make a run at him first thing in the morning. We're going to go back to the apartment and let's see what happens with the relatives talking to him. Maybe he'll give it up. So the next morning with the NYPD, the first cop that responds to that homicide scene, I had to go to the morgue the next day to identify the body, to make sure the toe tag and everything lines up. So I think they were between morgues at the time. It was at Jacoby Hospital in the Bronx. I go down there, I'm in uniform, and it's like a Sunday morning. It's a skeleton crew, and there's a kid working at the morgue, and I hand him some paperwork, and I go, I'm here to see, this person. So they didn't have like the slide-in drawers. It's a big refrigerated room. He walks into this refrigerated room. He pulls out a gurney. He pulls a sheet off, and it's a black guy with a beard. And I said, no. I says, I got a Hispanic female, and this is her name. He goes, oh, sorry. Pulls a sheet over the black guy's head, wheels the dead guy back into the room, comes out with another gurney, pulls the sheet off. It's like a wino, like an old white guy. I said, look, dude, I didn't come down here to see everybody that died in the Bronx last night. I'm here to see her. I says, let me in there. So I walk into this large refrigerated room, and there's like 10 bodies on 10 different gurneys. It's like a horror movie. It smelled, even though it was cold in there. You got the fluorescent light flickering above. I'm looking at people's feet. I see the toe tag. I see
Freddy Krueger just to show up somewhere, right?
I know. Yeah. That's exactly what it was like. So I find my victim. I pull the sheet off her head. I go, yeah, that's her. I identify her. I go back to the precinct, and this is probably about noon, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and the detectives are all celebrating. I'm like, well, what the fuck happened? Like, clue me in what happened. So two of the detectives, thank God they spoke fluent Spanish. They went back to the building. When they hit the hallway of the building, they could hear shouting. In the hallway of the building was the suspect with his three uncles, who were asking him a series of questions. So the detectives hung back by the stairwell and just listened in. And finally, the kid gave it up. He said, basically what happened was he was a crackhead. He would get clean. He'd go back on crack. He started stealing from his mother again, coming in late, abusing her. So she told him, that's it. I want you out. They got into a fight. He picked up a carving knife in the kitchen and stabbed her to death multiple times. Takes off his clothes, throws that in a plastic bag, takes the murder weapon, throws that in a plastic bag, and he leaves the apartment and leaves the door ajar, figuring, okay, I'm going to get rid of this stuff. I'll come back 3-4 hours later. The door is open. One of the neighbors are going to find her. They'll call the police. I'll come back and go, shit, what the fuck happened? He comes back 3-4 hours later. Nobody entered the apartment. Now he's got a problem because people seen him come back. Yeah. You can't keep coming back and leaving. Eventually someone's going to say, yeah, I seen him come back and go like 3-4 times. So what he does is he picks up the phone and starts making phone calls, and everybody shows up. And he was convicted of first-degree homicide. And he wound up, he's still in jail. I just checked recently. So that's like 1994.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, he's in almost 30 years. Yeah. And rightfully so.
Yeah. So now being in New York, I could imagine that you came across some pretty crazy things. And crazy as mean like you had to shake your head and be like, what am I looking at type of crazy thing. You have any of those kind of stories? I could imagine some late night down in the club district or something.
Well, I worked on patrol. I worked in the South Bronx and then the West Bronx. And then my last 10 years, I was a detective doing organized crime in the NYPD's auto crime division. So anything with chop shops, exporting stolen vehicles out of the country. And if we were working on a crew and, they were into homicides, well, guess what? Now we're involved in homicides, although we weren't like Bronx homicide. But if we're in an organized crime case and we're up on wiretap and these guys are bragging about homicides, then yeah, in for a penny, in for a pound. Oh, God, I've had so many. I mean, what do you want to hear? Organized crime, or do you want to hear patrol?
Organized crime, actually, because we've been discussing that a little bit. And actually, one of the topics we just discussed lately was the Italian Mafia and how kind of not their fall off so much, but I believe from the stories I heard that they're still out there, but they're just hidden in plain sight very well now, more so than they were before everything coming. One example I like is the end of The Sopranos is when they go to shake down like a Jamba Juice or whatever, a corporate entity, and they're like, I will have to get permission from my manager, and they're like, oh, this is the end of what we know. It's going to be a whole nother thing.
Yeah, so the mafia is alive and well, but it's nowhere near to what it was. Basically, I mean, Rudy Giuliani really knocked their teeth out. I mean, the commission, I mean, I know this is almost 40 years ago, but when they started going after these guys with the RICO laws, where guys are getting hit with 30, 40 years life sentences, it's no joke anymore. And then, I mean, the NYPD and the FBI had a joint task force, and there's 5 major families in New York, and each family had a team of detectives and FBI agents following them around and giving them a hard time and putting them in jail. You've got so many upper level echelon informants right now that they've backed off a lot of things. They're still around, and you're right. I mean, not only is like law enforcement taking the wind out of their sails, but the shakedown schemes that they had aren't around anymore because, like you said, corporate America is kind of filled up. How are you going to shake down corporate America? You know what I mean? They've got so many fucking lawyers, and the home office is in Milwaukee or wherever it is. You're never going to get to these people.
Some poor kid manager has to explain why he's $200 short because he gave them to the mafia guys or whatever.
Right. It's not the guy that owned the produce stand that's got to use a mob controlled carting service that picks up their garbage or their linens or the soda route. They can't nickel and dime like they used to. The mob makes money now is a lot of it's still gambling, but a lot of it now is offshore online gambling, where you've got places in Costa Rica and different countries where they catch them. Is eventually that money's got to come back into the United States.
Yeah.
So they're making money offshore, and the FBI and nobody can touch them because all these things are being done overseas.
Yeah.
But at some point, that money's got to come back in. And once they figure that out, that's where they hit them.
Yeah. And that actually hurts them a lot more, I would imagine, because that's right in their pocketbook, right?
It does, but it's not the same as taking a hit for a homicide or, they're still into drugs, but nowhere near, because the same with drugs as a RICO law. You can get life, in the federal system as a drug kingpin. So nobody wants to fuck around with that. I mean, because, it'll take you off the playing field forever. And guys that do get grabbed, if they were involved in a homicide or they know about a homicide, they're going to start talking. One of the cases I did in the auto crime division, we had a Chinese national. He was a Chinese military intelligence officer. He settles in Brooklyn. He meets up with a Jamaican middleman from the Bronx, and he tells him, I need 20, 30 stolen Audi A6s a month. So the Jamaican middleman, he runs chop shops and stuff, and he's got all these guys from the Bronx that know how to steal cars. So basically what the Asians did was they set up a warehouse in Brooklyn. The Jamaican would hire out these steal teams, and they would steal 20, 30 Audi A6s a month. The cars would be driven out to Brooklyn. The cars would go in a couple at a time into a warehouse. They would put 2 stolen Audis per container, shipping container. They would let the air out of the tires so the Audis would sit low in the container. Then they would build a wood frame above it and drive 2 other cars in there. So they get 3-4 cars, stolen vehicles per container, right? Once the containers were full and sealed, a trucking company that had no idea what was going on would take that container, bring it out to Newark, New Jersey. It was put on a train and railed across the United States to Long Beach, California, where it was put on cargo ships and shipped to the Pacific Rim. And I mean, this was going on for years. Yeah. And they were making so much money with it. So the Jamaican was getting paid $5,000 per car, and he was paying the thieves anywhere between $500 and $1,000 per car. And what we later found out was the cars were going to government officials. That's why they had to be silver and black. We're like, what are they, Oakland Raider fans? So it was a massive case because we had Chinese detectives from the NYPD who spoke Mandarin and Cantonese, monitoring the Asians' phone conversations. Then we had Spanish detectives listening in on the Thieves. their conversations. And then we quickly figured out that in addition to being prolific car thieves, these guys were in the murder for hire business.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, we knew probably 7 to 10 homicides just from them talking and piecing things together. And then when we took that case down, the main thief, this guy Mario Lopez, he never pulled the trigger, but he was the wheelman on multiple homicides with this guy Fausto Gonzalez. So once he got grabbed and he was going to get charged with enterprise, there's a state charge. There's a state charge for RICO, and I can't think of it. Enterprise corruption. He didn't want to go away for 20, 30 years. He started spilling his guts. I drove a motorcycle, and he was on the back, and he shot this guy. I drove him to this place, and he killed this guy. So chapter and verse, he gave us more homicides, and we took that case down. We probably solved about 15 homicides.
Yeah. That's the other question I had for you. I know Giuliani and the RICO Act had a lot to do with it. Do you think it was more of a generational thing? Like I noticed at a certain time frame, you got guys more willing to give up as an informant but before, like, you got those guys, they would do 20 years sitting there like, yeah, no problem, I'll do my 20. I'm not going to rat. That type of thing. But then all of a sudden there was a shift. Was it the bigger numbers they were throwing at him, or was it just a generational thing? Or
both? You hit the nail on the head with both. Yes, as far as it's a generational thing, you got to remember the Mafia, when it started in the United States, a lot of these guys were right off the boat from Italy. Yeah. The Black Hand, like, they were terrified, because they were afraid they'd go after their family and stuff. And listen, every generation, that's why we're in the predicament we're in now. Every generation wants their kid to have more than they had, and they spoil them. Yeah. So, you got a lot of guys going into the mob and organized crime that watch too many episodes of The Godfather, and they run their mouth. You know what I mean? The old time mobsters, you'd never catch them on a wiretap. Yeah. And they'd have a conversation one-on-one in the bathroom with the shower running, or in a bowling alley, or at a Home Depot, and it's Jimmy Whispers. Technology, these younger guys, they talk on the phone. Like, if I was a mobster, I wouldn't have one. Yeah, I wouldn't. You know what I mean? I wouldn't. But it's technology. It's people not having old school that they're going to flip. And then you're right. It's the sentences. I mean, you got a wife and a couple of kids, or your grandkids. You're 50-something years old, 40-something years old, and you're going to go to jail. And here's another thing people don't realize. With federal sentences, nobody wants to go to jail federally, because it's almost like going to a casino, because the federal system, when the feds say it's time to go to jail, you're going to jail. I mean, they get the best jury pool. They have the best talent as far as prosecutors. And if you get convicted of a federal crime, so say you're a mobster and or a bank robber in New York City, and you get convicted of a federal crime, they can ship you anywhere in the United States.
Because it's federal, right? Yeah.
Right. So say if you're living in New York and you get a couple of years, well, the furthest you're going to be is 300-400 miles away in upstate New York. If you're a mobster, you get 30 years and they send you to Lompoc, California. How many times do you think your wife and kids are going to come visit you in California, or Big Sandy, or down in Texas, or, one of the hellholes in the federal system? And Club Fed isn't Club Fed anymore, because now you've got all these gang members and MS-13 people that are in jail doing federal time for human trafficking and big time drug offenses and bank robberies. So you're not in there with white collar criminals anymore.
You're tennis matches.
Exactly. You're with the worst of the worst, far away from home, and you're going to do 20, 30 years like that. Healthcare in the federal system, there's only 2 or 3 hospitals really in the federal system. One's in Springfield, Missouri. The other one's in North Carolina. They might have another one, but good luck. I mean, something happens to you when you don't get the right doctor, you're done. So that's why guys are more willing to cooperate.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. And that's pretty much how they got John Gotti, right? Was they wiretapped the old lady's apartment. Like, she only left one day a month or something, and they were able to sneak in and do that. But basically the same deal. He wouldn't talk on the phone or out in public. They would go to this one place and have all their stuff. And I guess eventually they were able to figure it out and get that wiretap in there.
Yeah, and the Ravenite Social Club, I had nothing to do with this. This was like just before I got hired early in my NYPD career. I was a peon. I had nothing to do with John Gotti. But yeah, upstairs or the building next door to his social club, there was a former soldier that had died in the Gambino crime family, and his wife still had the apartment. So he would give her $100 just to leave the apartment for a couple of minutes. And an informant eventually said, yeah, they disappear and they go upstairs. And then they figured out it's got to be Mrs. I'm just making up a name, Mrs. Esposito. So the FBI did was they waited till she left the apartment. They wired the apartment. And when he was talking to a couple of his captains and underbosses or whatever, he started talking and they buried him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what kind of goes back to what you were saying, the old schoolness, but and the technology as well. So you could be as old school as you want nowadays, but with the technology that's coming out, with the microphones and all this other stuff, I mean, they'll get you.
I'm retired 15 years, and I mean, I saw pretty interesting stuff just before I retired. I can't even imagine what the microprocessors they have now. Like, I remember one time in narcotics, it was like a big deal. They had like a key fob that was a recording device. Like, it looked like something that'd be on your set of keys. Now, and that's 15 years ago. So probably now they've got something like that that's smaller, that's probably better than the recording equipment that we're using right now.
Yeah. Well, just drones alone with the last 15 years, 5 years of drones.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, now anyone can fly one around, a great one that could pick up audio, video. So, I mean, I would imagine the police are utilizing that as as best they can.
Oh, I know. Like, I remember one time, like, I was pushing 40 and we were doing a case, and there was this kid selling a stolen car. And I met with the kid, and I was playing like an older car thief, you know what I mean? And I was wearing a tape recorder, a recording device. I had it taped under my armpit, and the fucking thing hurt like hell. I had the thing wedged in my armpit, and I'm like talking to him about the car and does it have low jack, and I don't want to get busted with this thing. And I'm, because I want to set up something, buy more cars off this kid. And I remember, like, thank God it was like this time of year in New York, it was cooler. I had like a pullover. But I'm like, damn, this fucking thing is killing me. I got this recording device under my armpit.
It doesn't sound like it was small either.
No, it wasn't.
On that, so is that a hard thing? Like, you say, like, if you're undercover or you're in a like the organized crime unit and you come across one crime, is it hard to sit on that and wait for more to, like, I mean, because you're seeing them commit it right there in front of you, but like you said, sometimes you sit back and you let them commit more and more so you can like get the biggest conviction. Is that hard to do sometimes?
In the auto crime division, we went after garden variety car thieves, like the pains in the ass kids, drug addicts that are stealing cars just to get around. We did that because the numbers we would do a case, and then they'd start complaining, that the arrest numbers are down. Like, okay, so then we go off and pick off the garden variety car thieves. But we also no, I mean, what you're getting involved in. The mission is to get as many people as you can committing a crime. You want to get the whole bee's nest. You don't want to just kick it and get a couple of people. I call it crumbs. Like when we took down that case with the Audis going to China, that case got blown wide open because it's actually a pretty funny story. These guys were stealing so many fucking cars that were going to China.
How long were they doing that for?
Years before we got involved in it.
Wow, that long, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. They got an order for 10 cars, and the main thief, we were listening to phone conversations, and the main thief, he used to be a, what the fuck did he? Oh, he was like a parking attendant in Upper East Side parking garage. So he went to one of his friends that still worked at the garage and says, listen, I'll give you $3,000. Me and about 10 guys are going to come by tomorrow night. We'll duct tape you. We'll put you in the trunk of a car. We'll take the keys. We'll take the 10 cars out. Wait in the trunk of the car for about a half hour, then start kicking it, making noise. The police will come and just say, just tell them they were wearing ski masks. The guy goes, all right, $3,000. I'll sit in the trunk for a half hour. I mean, we had cameras on the location. We had wiretaps going. We watched the cars drive out. We watched them go out to Brooklyn. It was actually pretty funny, right? Yeah. So we're hearing so after they take these 10 cars out of this parking garage, we hear the main thief calling one of his lieutenants, and he goes, did you sweep those cars for low jack and tracking devices? The guy goes, yeah. He goes, no, don't yeah me. He goes, it's important. Did you? He goes, yeah, don't worry about it. Well, he didn't. So unbeknownst to us, one of the cars that's sitting in the parking garage, sitting in the warehouse that's going to get put in a shipping container. The next morning, the owner finds out his car is missing. He reports the car stolen to the police. That activates a LoJack device. Well, what happens is in the warehouse, the LoJack device is pinging. Now, we didn't know this, and in the organized crime division, we don't tell the precinct cops what we're doing. Had we told the precinct cops at that precinct that, yeah, this is a warehouse where they're shipping cars out of the country, the cops would have been circling that thing, looking at it. So that's why they have the organized crime control division. So Peter doesn't tell Paul. So what winds up happening is this GPS or a LoJack is pinging. The precinct cops go running into this warehouse. They see a bunch of Chinese guys standing around and they go, what the fuck? And the Chinese guys, yeah, hold on, I'll get my boss. They take off. And now the phones are blowing up because now it's like, shit, the warehouse is blown. So now we had to round everybody up. We were coming in from all over the city and we had to round everybody up. And we grabbed probably about 75% of the guys involved in that case. But the crumbs, like for weeks and months and years to catch the other guys that went underground, like we had them ID'd.
Yeah.
It took a while, but we were able to get probably 90% of them.
Wow, that's a big number, man. That's really
it was a massive case.
Yeah. Yeah. Was the ultimate plan would be like to try to catch them all in one location, but then like you said, the patrol kind of put a snafu into that? Or
if memory serves me correctly, because they were talking about homicides, was like, let them talk. So when you're on a wiretap, and it depends on the type of wiretap, but I'm just throwing out numbers, I could be wrong, but it's like every 30 days or every 60 days, you have to go to the judge that wrote that warrant and say, yes, we're still getting productive information. And you give them like a little report that, you're not just listening to someone's phone conversation for shits and giggles.
Yeah.
Right. And then he'll re-up the wiretap for another 30 days and another 30 days. So there was no reason to take the case down because they're talking about homicides. They're talking about in the middle of the case, they went down to Virginia and hit a Harley Davidson dealership. These guys were prolific. The shit these guys were into. So we were going to keep, as many homicides as we could listen to, you know what I mean? And as many scams as we could. But ultimately it got blown to shreds. We were on them probably 6 or 7 months. I guess the plan was to go a little bit longer. This is 20 years ago, but we would have definitely gone longer because we just kept getting more and more people in.
Like a gold mine. You're not going to quit digging.
Oh, yeah. It just kept going.
Yeah. So I got to ask about the wiretap process, because a lot of us used to what we see on The Sopranos or we see on NYPD Blue or whatever it is. What is that process like to actually put the wiretap where you need to put it or in that kind of thing? Like, let's say this case in particular, this warehouse.
So technology has changed. So in my first wiretap that I was involved in, right? So you've got to have probable cause to listen to someone's phone conversation. So you gather your information, you go to the district attorney, she writes it up. It's almost like a search warrant.
Yeah.
And then you bring it to a judge and the judge reads through it. And then he might have questions for the detectives in the case or the prosecutor. And you swear to it. Do you swear that this statement is true? You swear to it. And he says, all right, I'm going to allow it on this phone. It could be one phone. It could be multiple phones, right? Then you've got to go through the phone company. In the old days, I think they actually had to go up on a pole.
Yeah, see, that's what I was referencing. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember the first couple of wiretaps we did, we had to rent an apartment or be in a police facility that was fairly close to where the phone was, in the same neighborhood. But with technology, I remember the last case I was involved in with a case. We were nowhere near it. And everything was being done on a laptop with a digital recorder. But the first couple of wiretaps, it was you're hearing that phone ring, bring. Somebody walks over and they're putting their fingers down on a tape recorder.
Yeah.
And what people don't realize too is you don't listen to the full phone conversation. So say your phone is tapped and it's your wife calling her girlfriend. They'll listen for a couple of minutes. And once they're fairly certain that they're not talking about criminal activity, you got to get off that phone. You can't listen in, or if you're talking to your doctor, you know what I mean? You've got to get off. They're not listening to everything. Now, if they figure out, now the mobsters kind of figure out a way, because then they'll use their doctor's office phone, or they'll start talking in code. Then all bets are off. They're going to continue to listen to the phone conversation.
Yeah. So of all the cases that you've worked, organized crime all across the board, what's one that sticks out in particular that kind of maybe brings a chuckle to you? Be like, can't believe they tried to do that, or I can't believe that actually happened.
Oh God. Well, here, New York City Police Department's got 35,000 members. So we hire in bulk. A police academy class for the NYPD is anywhere between 500 and 2,500.
Wow.
And when I was hired, I mean, they did their best. I mean, psychologicals, drug screening. I mean, but you're still going to get bad apples that get through from time to time, and they get picked off. But the one thing I noticed was every time we go up on a wiretap, a cop or an NYPD member would wander onto that playing field, either offering advice or sometimes was smack in the middle of it. And it was like, well, sorry, pal, you got to go. Then you got to bring internal affairs on board. That Audi case that I was just telling you about with the cars being shipped to China, there were 2 precinct cops that used to hang out with the motorcycle thieves. And I mean, these guys were doing hits. Do I think that those 2 cops knew that those guys were doing homicides? No, but they knew damn well that those guys were stealing motorcycles and cars because they were giving them parts. So what the 2 cops would do is the thieves, if they saw a nice car they wanted to steal, they'd jot down the license plate number and they'd call their 2 cop friends and say, hey, I had an accident with this guy and he took off. Can you give me the plate? The cops knew what was going on. They'd run the plate. They'd tell them, yeah, this guy lives out in Long Island. This guy lives out in Staten Island. And then they would go, they'd have the address and go and take the guy's car in the middle of the night.
Yeah, that's, you would think if cops of all people would kind of put 2 and 2 together, but if you're getting a good deal, you're getting a good deal, right?
Well, yeah, but I mean, like in my book, The NYPD's Flying Circus, Cops, Crime, and Chaos, I've got a chapter in there called Crossing Over to the Dark Side. And it's stories of experiences of guys I knew or guys that, you know, that I saw around that, you know, they went bad. You know, I worked with a guy early in my career. I was a rookie cop. I partnered up with this guy and he was always in hock for money. Always. He was divorcing his wife. He was putting up another girlfriend in an apartment. And I was like 23, 24 years old. And he goes, hey, Vic, can you lend me $5,000? Now, $5,000 in 1988 was a lot of money. You know what I mean? And I just had gotten my own apartment. I was like, you know, I was starting to go.
You're still a kid. What kid walks around with that kind of money on him?
I says, what do you need $5,000 for? He goes, I'm thinking of getting a Corvette. I'm like, no, I can't lend you money. So he goes off and he leaves and he works in another precinct and he's getting, you know, he's got all these money problems. Well, what nobody knew was he had a cousin that was a drug dealer. He turns up on a DEA, a federal wiretap, and they grab him one weekend with a kilo of coke and a stolen gun. So why would he be carrying a stolen gun? Because if he was going to get robbed, he was going to kill somebody and the gun wouldn't come back to him and he would take off. So they've got him federally and he goes, whoa, time out. I know about all this police corruption in the NYPD. So Internal Affairs comes in and what they do is they release him that weekend. They take his gun and they put him on modified assignment. But what they do is they concoct this story. They put a cast on his arm. They return him to work. This happened over a weekend, so he wasn't missing. He shows up into work. He says, I broke my arm. They put him on restricted duty. Inside the cast is a hidden microphone.
Oh, man.
And he's walking around the precinct striking up conversations with guys. But here's the thing. He was the police corruption. Yeah. There was no other police corruption in the precinct. So he's anything he could think of trying to get somebody in trouble. And hey, remember that time, you know, this happened, that happened. And guys are like, what the fuck are you even talking about? Yeah. They got his old partner for perjury because supposedly they did a car stop and they found a gun under the seat. And I think his old partner said the gun was in the glove compartment, something like that. But they locked up his old partner. I mean, he wore a wire for 6 months in an NYPD precinct. And the best they could do was his partner on perjury. And I don't even think that case stuck. I think that it got dismissed. But yeah, I mean, he was transporting kilos of coke. This was many years after I had worked with him. But yeah, guys go bad sometimes. I mean, there's been a couple of NYPD guys that like they've gotten involved in these terrible things, and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah. You think it's just like a out of desperation, opportunity? You think that kind of, you get yourself into a situation and you see an opportunity
I think it's two things. I think one, they were bad to begin with, and they flew in under the radar. They've got a high IQ. They knew how to answer all the right questions on the psychologicals and everything, and they were good for a while, and they're just waiting to meet up with another guy or girl that's going to go along with them, or waiting for the right scam to go for it. And then there are those, like you just said, for whatever reason, mental illness, alcoholism, they've got problems at home. They feel that they've been slighted, and now they want to get back at somebody or the department or whatever their motivation is.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Well, we're going to wrap up here pretty soon, but let's talk your books. I want to, they're available on Amazon, correct?
Yeah. If I could show you all my books.
Yeah, definitely.
Grand Theft Auto, the NYPD's Auto Crime Division. It's everything you wanted to know about the stolen car industry. What happens to your car after it gets stolen? Who steals your car? What goes on in a body shop? What parts are sold for? How not to get screwed over buying a secondhand car. I've got.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. That's really useful.
NYPD Law and Disorder. This is loaded with funny and embarrassing stories that happened to myself and other NYPD members. I was sitting on a bowl in a public restroom, and I had my gun belt on the hook facing me, and some kid running into the next stall jumped up on the toilet and grabbed my gun belt, and I got into a fight with him. It was like a hockey fight. He's got my gun belt trying to pull it over the wall, and I'm punching him in the face. His friends grab his legs and pull him back over the wall.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's in that book. You got the NYPD's Flying Circus, Cops, Crime, and Chaos. That's more unbelievable stories. There's a story in there about a cop I knew who stole a horse and carriage for a wild ride through Central Park. He was getting drunk at the bar, and one of those handsome cab operators came into the bar, and he goes, "Hey, can I take Seabiscuit for a ride?" The guy said, "Yeah," and he was drunk. He went outside and got in the horse and carriage and took off, and then the horse ran through Central Park. Yeah. Then you got NYPD Through the Looking Glass, stories from inside America's largest police department. That's filled with funny and embarrassing stories, like the cop that got drunk and put his gun in the oven to go out drinking. Then he comes home, 9 beers, 4 hours later. He preheats his oven to 425, frozen pizzas, and the gun explodes, and he's got to crawl out of his house on his hands and knees. And then finally, this is called Confessions of a Catholic High School Graduate. That's me growing up as a little scumbag in the Bronx and how I turned my life around and became a member of the New York City Police Department. All my books are available on Amazon. Just go into the book section, type in Vic Ferrari. All my books, they're paperbacks. They're $10. They make great $10 stocking stuff for Christmas gifts. And they're also available on Kindle for $2.99 ebook download.
How great is that? $10 for a book? Man, you won't find that anywhere. Definitely jump on that, guys. You want to hear more of these great stories? I want to hear about the guy in the pizza or in the oven. That's crazy. And so I'm definitely going to buy a couple of these. You know what? When you mentioned the Catholic school one, that's a whole nother podcast we need to get into. We'd love to have you back and talk about your Catholic school experiences.
Anytime.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, guys. Make sure you're checking out Amazon. Vic Ferrari. I said that right, Ferrari.
Yeah, like Vic Ferrari, like the car.
Yeah, perfect. Check out those books, guys, and we're gonna have them back on for some more wild stories. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
All right, it was a blast. Thank you. We'll talk to you soon. All right, guys, how awesome was that? Great interview, man. Awesome. Big hats off. Thank you so much, sir, for being part of the show. Guys, check out thedailydank.com. That's right, thedailydank.com. Make sure you're hitting that like, subscribe, and share button, guys. Send some love. Check out these shirts, guys. Who wants their own Flying High shirt from the Daily Dank? Check it out. The It's 420 Yeti to Party shirt, guys. Check out thedailydank.com. Click on apparel, and boom, you're right there. Go get some of those shirts, guys. All right, I appreciate you, and I'll see you next time on It's 420 Somewhere. Elevated perspective, guys. We'll see you.
Thank you for joining us on the It's 420 Somewhere podcast. Broadcasting worldwide and brought to you by thedailydank.com.
Check out our merchandise and amazing content.
And follow us on all our social media. Now, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.